In Railroad Rivals, players will lay out railroad tracks, increase their stock portfolio, and use the railroad to make deliveries and increase their stock. Full steam ahead in this 19th century railroad tile laying game. A random starting city will start the grid, and each player will start with 2 city tiles. Each round will begin with 2 rows of city and stock tiles, each equal to the number of players. Player order will be as such from left to right. Next, each player will bid victory points to see who goes in front of the turn ordered line. Players can raise the last bid or pass. When all have passed but one, that player will pay that many victory points and go to the front of the turn order track. He'll choose to either take a city or stock tile. The next player does the same. When all have taken a tile, the first player then chooses another tile, but this time taking the other type, city or stock, until all players have taken a city and stock tile. Again, with the first player, they'll place one city tile from their hand onto the grid. To do so, they'll have to match a railroad company with one already there. This will create a link and have you place your colored locomotive. Or they can place a blank side next to another blank side, but this will not make you place a locomotive here. Lastly, if no tiles can be placed, you'll pass placing a city tile. When placing a city tile, also draw goods from the bag as listed on the tile you placed. These can be wood, coal, grain, or iron. When all players have had a chance to place city tile, it's time to make deliveries. To do so, the first player will choose a good to deliver by using a locomotive. Firstly, if it's the first good of that type delivered this round, the player makes 3 points. 2 points if it was already delivered, and 1 point if it was delivered at least 2 times before. Next, if they used another player's locomotive to do so, they'll award them 2 points. No points if using your own locomotive. And lastly, the railroad company used will have its stock increased by 1. When all players have delivered, a new round begins as we've described. When a player placed their last city tile, the game end is triggered. Each player will multiply their stock according to their value and add that to their VP track. The player with the most points wins. So that's Railroad Rivals in a nutshell. I'm going to start off by saying I love the sturdy tiles, good quality meeples, and the fact that these railroad companies are actual real ones from the 19th century. Now, it's hard for you to properly get a feel of gameplay, but the bidding aspect of the game is very crucial, as most games we played, end scoring was very close. So overbidding one round or underbidding another can make the difference between winning and losing. That said, besides this aspect, I do find there's limited tactical options. I get that you'll want to place tiles a certain way as to cover up or make high value stock be less accessible, but more often than not, the luck of the drawn tiles will make that choice for you. Because if you have a tile that can be placed, it must be placed. So there's a huge sense that sometimes the game plays you. So the luck factor in what city tiles you draw is huge. Many a times you'll pass when you can't play a city tile, and that'll be no fault of how you played the previous rounds. The other thing is how the winner of the bid goes to the front of the turn order track. So essentially you can benefit from not bidding a round where you were first, knowing you'll go second next round. And though the game scales with city and stock tiles drawn, the game still nonetheless is played better at 5 players. The theme for me on this one feels a little too abstract, and I'm not really sure on replay value. I've played it 3 times now, and it's not something I'm itching to play again, unfortunately. The mini expansion of Hotel and Water Tower really doesn't add much. They'll be used maybe twice each game, and that's it. I'm certainly looking forward to see what Forbidden Games has in store for us in the future, but sadly for me, Railroad Rivals just didn't do it. It's an okay game with an okay score of 6 out of 10.